Hello, my Italian food fanatics. Today, we're going to make a special pesto. It's from the island of Sicily, specifically from the city of Trapani. It's pesto alla Trapanese, and it is made with the usual suspects, except there's a couple of little changes. We're using toasted almonds. We're using Pecorino Romano instead of Parmigiano, and we're using tomatoes. The success of this dish is reliant on having the juiciest tomatoes possible. And we're also going to use mint. The almonds, the mint, and the tomatoes come together to make this pesto the special pesto that it is. Okay? We'll also be using extra virgin olive oil. We use Pecorino instead of Parmigiano, like I mentioned, and a little bit of lemon juice. But let me tell you, the results are fascinating. And the rules are there are no rules. I've seen this made with a lot more garlic than we're going to use. I've seen this made without any cheese. I've seen this made with the pulp of the tomato, which we're going to use today, as it's got to be skinned. I've seen the tomatoes skinned without blanching. I'm going to blanch them. Okay, so there's a whole host of things. I've seen it made with no mint at all and just basil, which is not really Sicilian. So the rules are there are no rules, but I'm going to give you the nucleus, the base, the foundation for this particular pesto, and you do it however you want. But before we go into the kitchen and I show you how to make this extremely fast dish, by the way, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, hit the bell button so you know when I release another video. Share with your friends. After all, sharing is caring, and leave a comment down below. I really appreciate it, and I interact with people. This is your channel just as much as it is mine. It's an interactive experience. If you don't get anything out of it, I don't get anything out of it. So please leave a comment. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get into the kitchen and make this wonderful, excellent, totally different Sicilian pesto. All right, let's get started. For our pesto Trapanese, we're going to use almonds. These have been toasted but not salted. We'll use Pecorino Romano. This is where a lot of our salt is going to come from. Not all of it, but most of it. We'll use some mint leaves. We'll use basil. We'll use a little bit of garlic, not too much. And one of the stars of our pesto are tomatoes. And so we will be peeling these tomatoes. Now they can be dunked in boiling water like I'm going to do and peeled, or you can peel them like the Nonas do in Sicily, just by themselves. We use a little bit of lemon juice, which is not exactly traditional, but adds a little something extra to the pesto, and of course some extra virgin California 100% organic olive oil. So if you can hear in the background, I have our water going already. Because this takes so little time to put together, the water is on so that we can blanch the tomatoes and peel them and make concassé. I'm not going to take you through that process. If you don't know how to make concassé, you can catch the link at the top of the screen, and that will show you how it's done. We're going to chop. We're not going to chop up anything other than grating the cheese and taking the center out of this garlic. Everything else is going to be done in a food processor. So, other than washing the leaves, we'll do nothing else. I'll see you in just a few minutes. All right, our mise en place is ready to make the pesto, but before we do that, we are going to put our linguine into the water. There's 4 cups of water here. This is the same water that I boiled the tomatoes in there. You can see some of the seeds. That's not going to matter, because we are going to be using the seeds and the pulp of the tomato in the final product. We'll add in 2 teaspoons of regular table salt. And if you follow my channel, you'll know that's what I do. We'll stir in our linguine, and I will incorporate this. And let's go make the pasta sauce, or the pesto, the Trapanese pesto. Okay, so now that our pasta is in the water, we will make the pesto. You can see what I've done to the pecorino. I've chopped it up into matchsticks, somewhat similar to our almonds here. The garlic has been cut and the center removed. It's been trimmed. We still have this half of the lemon. I have peeled the tomatoes. I have not de-seeded them. And the reason for that is because I've seen Sicilian grandmas make this pesto and keep the insides with the seeds. And it goes to show you that even on that level, you know, the home cook level, they may know something that refined cuisine has missed all along, and that Ferran Adria, the seminal chef from El Bulli in Spain, discovered that the pulp and the seeds in the center of the tomato actually contain all the flavor, believe it or not. So in that spirit, I'm going to keep the center pulp, because this is one of the big stars of our dish, and that is the tomato, as opposed to the basil here. If we just wash the basil, we're not using a lot, as you can see, in relation to the other ingredients, because again, the mint here adds a brightness, the basil adds its own flavor, but these two are not the stars. The stars are really the tomatoes and the almonds. So let's get the machine out before our pasta is ready, and we'll put this pesto together. All right, first things first, we're going to put our almonds inside, and we are also going to put our garlic in there as well, and we'll spin this up to get them incorporated and to make kind of a paste. Next, we'll add our cheese. And do it again. And now the stars of our show, the tomatoes. Now you'll notice that this pesto is now a little bit pink, and that's what we're actually going for. So we are going to add in our basil and mint last, obviously. And you know why that is, because if you've watched any of my other pesto videos, you'll know that if we spin the basil up for too long a time, it will burn. And we can't use any liquid in here like ice water, like we did with the blender version or the Genovese version of pesto. And the reason for that is because it's already too liquid from the tomatoes. That's where the juiciness of the tomatoes in season makes this one of the most delicious pestos you'll ever have. So here we go. Let's spin it up. I mean, that's literally it. You don't want to do any more than that. I'm going to spin up this thing just a little bit more. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil in here. And that's going to be enough. I must have added maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons. That's it. Now we'll give it a taste. And see. That's so good. Let's add just a tiny bit of lemon juice. This is more of a pro move than a Nona move. We'll give it a little bit more of a spin, just to mix all that up in there. Let me taste again. Not noticeable, but it adds that je ne sais quoi. Now, if you want to remain completely traditional, you don't have to add that, but boy, does that add a little something. It always does. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of salt, because believe it or not, that's what it could use. Even with the pecorino, it can use salt. And I've also seen Nonas make this and never use any cheese at all. Not in the pesto and not to grate over the dish itself. So There's a lot of leeway here for you, but that's essentially what the pesto should look like, more or less. Could be a little bit more pink or red, depending on the type and the amount of the tomatoes, and also the season too. But look at the beautiful mint, and I mean, this is one of those pastas that you have to try. One of those pestos or these pasta dishes. Anyway, our linguine is almost ready, so let's go to the stove. All right, our pasta is perfectly cooked, and it has to be when you're making pesto because you're not going to add any heat to the pesto. So we'll bring the pasta into this bowl that we're going to mix everything into, and we also have a ladle ready in the event that we need to add some more pasta water, which is typical of this particular type of cookery. We'll add in a little bit of this pesto. We'll take these tweezers and we'll mix it up a little bit like this. You can see it's already starting to get a little bit thick, so we are going to add just a tiny bit, and I mean a tiny bit of water in there. We'll mix this up a little bit like this. Oh, look at that. How sweet it is. A little bit of extra virgin olive oil to give it a sheen. There we go. That's perfect. And we're ready to dish it up. All right, my Italian food fanatics, you saw me dish it up. This is the pesto alla Trapanese from Trapani. It's a city in Sicily, believe it or not. And this is the pesto from that region. I've actually added a little bit of chiffonade of mint on top. It's a functional garnish. We could have added little squares of tomatoes as well, maybe a mint leaf on top to make it look nice. But I wanted to keep it as authentic as possible. You would get this in someone's house with the pasta handmade, hand-rolled, and there would probably be no cheese in it. There'd be a lot more garlic than we're using today. But regardless, there's so many ways that this particular pesto can be made. The rules are there are no theoretical rules. So let's just see how delicious this is. Wow. That is so Sicilian. It's not even funny. We have the tomatoes that coming in there. You get the mint. The pasta, I must tell you, it's perfectly cooked. The creaminess. You have a little bit of that raw olive oil that I put on there. You can taste the basil, but it's not overpowering. It's perfectly seasoned. It's just wanting for nothing, believe it or not. That little bit of lemon juice, you can't even tell that it's in there, but it adds a little hint of brightness. What a bowl of pasta. The tomato flavor comes through as well. You have that acidity with it a little bit. I mean, this is just, I'll tell you what, this summer, because it is the summer of 2022, if you can get in-season tomatoes from your own garden, really juicy, don't take the center pulp out, leave the center pulp in, and you will have something so amazing, you'll never forget it. Let's put it that way. You'll be... You'll be looking for ways to use tomatoes if you have any at the end of the summer. This is one of those ways. And let me tell you, once you get rid of your tomatoes, when you think about this dish, you'll be wanting summer to come back again a lot faster instead of worrying about what you're going to do with all of these tomatoes and giving them away. You'll never give another tomato away. I'm going to eat the rest of this bowl. There's no doubt about it. Also, I want to mention that I didn't add any cheese because that is also a Nona thing. You don't need to add the cheese. In fact, I've seen this pesto made without any cheese at all and never served with any cheese. So again, the rules are there are no rules. Before I let you go, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, hit the bell button so you know when I release a video. Leave a comment down below if you have a moment to do so. And if you've gotten this far, I know you have a moment to do so. And share it with your friends. Sharing is caring. I want to thank you for taking this journey along with me on this YouTube channel. It's just as much your channel as it is mine. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a great day. I wish you good health, happiness, and prosperity. And I'll see you in the next video.